And some of you still remember the message, and if you missed that message, you can actually access that in YouTube or in the Vimeo of the church where you can watch the video. So yung mga nami-miss nyo po ng mga sermons, you can actually catch up sa YouTube or in Vimeo. The royal wedding, I started with the royal wedding, unfolding to you the story of the wedding banquet as stated in Matthew 22. You're familiar with that? The king, the reason why I entitled it Royal Wedding, because the king's son is getting married and he invited all his friends, but he was so disappointed that the very people he invited rejected the invitation, and it turned out the king said, go to the street corners, go to the highways, and invite everyone to attend. So the message that we have drawn from that parable of the wedding banquet was God is inviting all to respond to His call. There was an open invitation, for God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, because the very people He chose, Israel, the nation of Israel, not the entire nation, but because there was a remnant of people who believed, but the majority of the nation rejected the invitation and they did not respond appropriately to the royal invite that God has sent. Even the son was killed in the parable of Jesus. The father sent the son, hoping that they will accept him because he's already the son of the owner, of the landowner. But we all know the story that the tenants, in the story, they even killed the son. So that is an allegory of what's going to happen, that Jesus, after several days or weeks, will be put on the cross by the very people He came to visit. God is no respecter of person. He is throwing the invitation to all people, and He wants everyone to respond to that call. After that message, I shared the following Sunday, in continuation with the royal theme, I entitled it The Royal Entourage. Now, I talk about 2 chapters after that, Matthew 25, when Jesus talked about the 10 bridesmaids. And he qualified them into 2 groups, the wise and the foolish virgins. And what we have drawn there, an important principle is that preparation will spare us from desperation. Preparation is appreciated especially when there is an unexpected event that happens. So you prepare for the unexpected. And Jesus is saying, there will be a delay. When there is a delay for the coming of the bridegroom, the foolish who did not prepare for such unavoidable situations will find themselves in desperation, in feeling of loss, feeling of pain. At the last minute, they were panicking, trying to knock in every door, trying to buy some oil for their lamp, simply because they did not adequately prepare for the unexpected. Jesus, this is very important, I want you to catch this very importantly, in the context of the 2 parables, Jesus was talking, after that, He was talking to the disciples, because after that parable, He walked and He pointed to the temple, the magnificent temple of Solomon, and He commented something that made the disciples curious, because Jesus said, you look at this temple, this beautiful temple, take note of this, no one stone will be left upon another. This temple will be destroyed. Historically speaking, AD 70, the Romans came and destroyed the city of Jerusalem. But because of that statement of Jesus, the disciples, the 12, got so curious and started asking Jesus when they were in Mount of Olives, saying, Lord, 2 things. When will these things be, and what are the signs of your coming again? And we all know in the story, Jesus did not answer the 2 questions. He only answered 1. These are the signs of the end times. But He did not tell them the time and the hour of when the Son of Man will appear again, because He said to them, no one knows the time, therefore watch and be prepared. So parables after parables about the coming of the kingdom, the theme is one overarching watchfulness, preparedness for the coming. You don't know the hour or the time. Now, in Matthew 25, the audience were still the disciples. So take note of that. The audience were still the disciples after He had an encounter with the scribes and the Pharisees in the temple. So today, let me entitle our conversation, The Royal Endowment. Now, it's still in the theme of royal because the imagery that Jesus used in the succeeding parables are still connected with the royal wedding. Here, in the royal endowment in Matthew 25, 14 to 13, actually is still connected with the parable of the 10 virgins. Still connected. The original translation of the Bible, there were no chapters and verses. What are the chapters? The big number, chapter 24. The original manuscript, they don't have those numbers. They don't have small verses. It's actually one written as one whole book. It's only the modern scholars who subdivided it to help us somehow locate or find our ways as we read the scripture. So now I want you to listen very carefully, because in Matthew 14, in continuation with the parable of the 10 virgins, no one knows the time, so you have to prepare and so on and so forth. He continued the story as if it's part of the same story. And then he said this. It's really interesting. Every time you read a parable, you wait for the punchline. There is a punchline. In every story, there is a punchline. And the punchline is actually the message of the parable. So in this parable, Jesus ended with these words. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. This is a maxim, this is a sayings that made the modern readers, all of us today, made us puzzled in our mind, asking, what did Jesus mean by saying this? And then I started asking myself, I want you to look at the verse very carefully, because I started asking myself, when Jesus said, for everyone who has, I asked myself, has what? As if Jesus did not specify, as if he is assuming, or he was assuming, that the first readers, or the first hearer, the audience, the first audience, they understood what he was saying. It's only us today, modern readers, that made us puzzle, because we don't know the context of what was going on. But it looks like his listeners understood what he was saying. But for us, when we are reading this verse, probably you have asked the question, for everyone who has what? Because the readers and the hearers of Jesus, they understood what he was referring. It's only us who is missing something here. So that's my point today. So let me bring you back to the story of Jesus so that we will understand the way it was understood by the first listeners. Okay? So when I was studying the parable of the talents, because this is about the parable of the talents, I draw this one very important lesson. So very important principle. It's glaring, and I want you to catch it in every verse that we're talking about. So here's the lesson that I want you to bring home. The faithful will gain more favor, while the faithless will lose even more. Later on, I will explain to you why I use the word faithful and faithless. But it is so glaring in the story of Jesus that those who were faithful, we will define later on what does it mean to be faithful, who were the faithful, who were the faithless. But in the story, Jesus qualified by saying, those who were faithful will receive more favor, but those who were faithless, or while the faithless, will lose even more. So let me bring you back to the verses that talks about this. Here's Jesus saying, in continuation with the 10 virgins, he continued by saying, again, this is the same story, in the same theme of what I have said a while ago in the previous story. Again, it will be like the kingdom of God will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. Later on, we will find out that the servants are not the ordinary helpers or servants or slaves. These are actually managers, because he entrusted to them the property of the owner. To one, according to Jesus, to the one servant or manager, he gave 5 talents. You know, the beauty of the modern translation, if you're using the King James, they only use the word talent. And sometimes it confuses us readers today that we understand the word talent with the way we understand it today. Like, ang talent mo, you know how to sing, you know how to dance. Anong talent mo? You know how to cook or whatever. This has nothing to do with that talent. The talent that this is talking about is about money. So that's why the modern translation helped us now by saying, to one he gave 5 talents of money. So here's Jesus saying, to one of the servants, he gave 5 talents of money. To another, 2 talents. And to one, talent. To another, 1 talent. And then he said this, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. You know, I really appreciate that red line there, each according to his ability. Para walang complain. Binigyan ako ng isang talent dahil yun lang ang kaya ng abilidad ko to manage it. So I will not be judged based on the 5 talents if I was only given 1. So God is fair. So if God has given you, entrusted to you endowment or whatever, it means He gave it to you, you can manage it. So stop comparing yourself with others. So mind of your own talent and endowment and do something about it. Here's each according to his ability, and he went on his journey. It's customary during those times in the Orientals that the rich one, the owners, the masters would travel for vacation. And in those days, it's hard to travel. There were times that when the rich people would travel, some of them will meet accident and they will be destroyed or killed and they will not be able to return. Some of them can still, because there were no good transportations and there are so many bad robbers and thieves along the way. It happens during those times. Now, let's try to understand the way they understood the word talent. Talent, or in the Greek, it's talantos. A talent can be a gold or silver or copper, each with its own values, depending on whether it's a gold, silver, or copper. A talent was also a measure of weight. Pag sinabing 1 talent, it's referring to yung timbang, yung bigat. It's a measure of weight between 58 to 80 pounds, translation, 26 to 36 kg. So a talent, when the master gave 1 talent, he was talking about weight, a measure of weight, probably silver or gold. And a talent was also a unit of coin. Here's a very interesting comparison. I want all the mathematicians to start computing it in your mind. 1 talent is equals to 6,000 denarii. And 1 denarius is equals to 1 day's wage. So you times 1 day, 365 days, you divide 6,000, the 1 talent, for you to earn 6,000 denarii, how much will that be? It will take you 16 years over in order for you to acquire that wealth. So the reason why I'm trying to say this is for us to feel ganon kalaki yung iniwan na kayamanan nitong owner. Can you imagine the 5-talent guy? You times 5 to 6,000, you have 30,000. How many years will you accumulate such kind of wealth if you are a common laborer? 85 years? How many of us here have experienced being entrusted with such wealth and responsibility? Many years ago, there was this rich man in the Philippines. He's a foreigner in the Philippines, very, very rich. He owns many lands and properties in Ayala, in ganyan, everywhere. And because of the taxation, he came to me and said, you know, Pastor Butch, I trust you. And I chose you, me and my wife, we chose you to name all our properties under your name. Because I trust you for who you are. So the first thing that I felt when I was approached that ipapangalan po sa akin, can you imagine, maririnig niyo si Pastor Butch, your pastor, ang dami kong bahay sa Ayala, Alabang. Sasabihin niyo, kaya pala siguro yung mga offering dito na babibili doon. And then all of a sudden, I realized, naku, malalagay yata ako sa alanganin. It can be reflected as an ill-gotten wealth. How did I come up with such huge wealth that I am only serving as a missionary in Singapore? And I'm only like, how old I was that time? 40? Kahit ipon-ipunin pa yung aking mga sweldo, hindi ko kayang bumili ng ganong kalalaking property. So I came to Singapore, Manju and I were talking about it, we were praying about, habang pinapanalangin namin, nanginginig na ako sa takot. And the last time we talked to that person, I said, I'm so sorry, thank you for trusting me, but I cannot accept it. Why, Pastor Woods? Why? Because you're putting me in a difficult situation. Why don't you just give it to me? Para plain and simple, just give it to me, no? Put an affidavit, give it to me, I'm giving all my wealth to Pastor Butch, then it's easier. Pero yung usapan na ipapangalan ko lang sa iyo, ay mahirap yan, pagka-amnesia baga ako. Now the point why I shared that is, how many of us have actually experienced being entrusted with so huge responsibility? There is an expectation from the other side. It's a huge responsibility when someone is entrusting something very, very precious to us. That's the point of Jesus. Remember, the audience of Jesus here were actually the 12 disciples. He's trying to say, in a few days from now, I am leaving. I'm going away. There might be some delay. It will be a long time. I am entrusting something to you guys. So huge, so big responsibility. I want you to realize the enormity of the responsibility at stake that I am leaving something to you. Imagine the 5-talent guy with the 30,000 that you'll be able to save it in 85 years for you to accumulate such wealth. Yun ang nakakakilabot yung ganon, na pagkatiwalaan ka ng napakalaking responsibilidad. Now, I want you to realize, as we go on with the message, that all of us have been endowed with the huge responsibility. Our own life, yung buhay lang natin na binigay ng Diyos Pamilya, yung mga binigyan ng anak, yung mga binigyan ng talent, ng wisdom, ng knowledge, the gifted, the spirituality and everything. Those who had given jobs, careers, families, friends, influence, and so on. We were given such a huge royal endowment because God, when it is given to you, He knows that you are able to manage it. But the question is, how do we manage it? Let's continue. So when this royal endowment was given, the man who had received the 30,000 denarii, the 5 talents, went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. When I came to this verse, I said, wow, I want to know this guy. I want to meet this guy. What a wise man is this guy. Hindi siya nagsayang ng oras. He did not waste a single hour when it was given to him and the master went on in his journey. He put to work right away. I don't know what he did. He surfed the internet. He opened the newspaper. He checked all the stock exchange, whatever. Saan ako mag-i-invest? Which bank is more giving me more options? Whatever. He was so brilliant that he went out at once and put the money of his master to work. He invested it. And because he's really smart, good steward, good manager, he was able to gain 5 more. I don't know how long, but he was able to gain, he doubled it. I said, oh wow, I want to meet this person. And I would ask him, how did you do it? The Bible continues saying, so also the one with the 2 talents. The same thing. He went off, put the money to work, and gained. Here's the point of the story. The focus and the emphasis of the story were not the 2, but the other one. But in contrast, the man who had received 1 talent, 6,000 denarii, you're able to accumulate it in 16 years or more. The one who received 1 talent went up, everybody went out, went up, but this guy went back and dug a hole in the ground, maybe at his house, and hid his master's money. When I came to this verse, I asked the Bible, I asked this guy, obviously he did not respond, why? Why did you not follow the rest? Why did you not do the same thing the other 2 did? Why did you go home? What was going on in your mind? What scares you? He went off, dug a hole, hid the money in his master's house. One Bible scholar interestingly commented saying, customary during those times, they hide wealth under the ground. Remember the story of the hidden wealth, the hidden treasures? And this worker accidentally, Yamasita treasure. So what did the laborer did? Yamasita, he covered it without telling anyone. He went out, went off, sell everything he has, came back and bought the field because anyone who owns the field owns everything under the field. And the point of Jesus is, if you discover something that is so valuable, you'll try to sell everything because you want that most important thing. So it's customary during those times that people would dig and hide. But this guy, why would he do that and not go to the banks? Later on, you'll find out, interesting how the reason behind why this man did what he did. After a long time, there was a delay, I don't know how long, after a long time, the master of the servants returned and settled accounts with them. One commentator said, the very reason the guy dig a hole and hide the master's money is because he simply did not believe that his master will come back and return. And this is the argument of that scholar. The other two believe that the master would come back and he would settle with them. This guy did not believe. That's why he hid the money under the ground. Later on, the bluff will be called by the master. The reason why he hid it, because if the master will not come back and he found out there's a news, namatay si boss, and the money will be his. Because if he put it in the bank, it will be under the master's name, he cannot claim it. So this scholar was saying, because this guy did not really believe that he's coming back. Now, I want you to hold on to that thought and see later on along the story. After a long time, the master came. To his surprise, andyan na si boss to settle the accounts. He called all his managers to settle accounts with them. Look, I want you to feel the emotions in the verse. Because when you read the Bible, there are no emotions. You have to put some emotions to it. The man who had received the 30,000 denarii brought the other 5, and I want you to feel in his words, Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. When I read this, I can feel the excitement of this man. He was so proud of what he has done. You feel the emotions of the servant? That's why the master said, his master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful. Here's the key word. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Now, put your feet in the shoes of the 12 disciples who were listening to Jesus when they asked him, what are the signs? When are you coming back? And Jesus began telling them some stories. If you and I were part of the disciples and you can hear what Jesus is saying as if he is telling them, I am leaving, I am entrusting to you a huge responsibility to go into all the world, make disciples of all nations. Later on, you'll find that I am entrusting to you huge endowment. The Holy Spirit will be given to you. There will be a time of reckoning. And if you have become faithful and good managers of what I have entrusted to you, I will put you in charge. And you will rule with me when I come back as the King of Kings. This is happening in the minds of his disciples. You have been faithful with a few things. In other translation, those who are faithful in small things will be entrusted with bigger things. Come and share with your master's happiness. So the second man was already queuing and excited. The second man with the 2 talents came, Master, oh Master. Maybe because there was relationship. Their master, he was so excited. You entrusted me with 2 talents. 12,000 denarii. See, I gained 2 more. You feel the excitement of these servants, as if they were like so proud of what they have done, that I have not become lazy. I see to it that I am useful. I was not just sitting around thinking that you are not coming back. Remember the story, the servants who thought that the master is not coming back would be sitting pretty and abuse the other servants, and then all of a sudden the master will show up, and then he will call out this servant. So this servant is saying, Master, I was not lax, I was not passive, I put to work, I did not fail you. The responsibility that you have entrusted to me, the expectation, thank you for entrusting to me, I have gained 2 more. Reading between the lines, that what they're saying to their master, and they're so proud of what they have done. And the master repeatedly, the same commendation to the first one. Good job, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful, the key words again. With few things, I will put you in charge. With many things, come and share with your master's happiness. I am waiting for the third guy. The third guy was queuing. He heard everything. The first one, bragging, Master, oh, na-double ko yung binigay mo. Sir, na-double ko, sir. Wow, there was embracing probably. Good job, good job. And the third one was a bit shaking when it was his turn. The third one came, and look what he said. Feel the emotion. The man who had received the 1 talent, 6,000 denarii, huge amount, huge responsibility, came and said, Master, with a different tone. The excitement was not there. A different tone. The atmosphere changed. Master, I knew that you are a hard man. Uh-oh. When I read that, are you accusing your boss? You know, when we fail, we make a lot of excuses. Kasi ikaw eh. Kasi ikaw eh. I don't like this because of you eh. So sometimes when we fail, when we know we are guilty, we come up with excuses. And later on, I want you to see and observe, remember this verse, because the master will call his bluff. The man said, I knew that you are a hard man. That's a serious accusation. And in the story, the master did not confirm or deny the accusation. Instead, you will find out in the story, the master called the bluff of this guy. And there was reprimanding and there was embarrassment in front of this guy. I knew that you are a hard man, okay? Harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. What's going on with this guy? You're accusing your boss of being rude, being bad, no integrity. What's implied in the verse? You're gathering, you sown, you're harvesting from what you have not sown, meaning there's corruption there. You're gathering where you have not scattered. You are a hard man, the servant said. And I want you to pay attention how the master responded. He said, so, because this is my perception of you, you are a hard man, you can do whatever you want. Because this is my perception of you, so I was afraid. And I was petrified. Because this is my perception of you, so I was afraid and went out and hid your talent. So he's now justifying, because this is what I have, ito yung paningin ko sa'yo, boss eh. This is how I look at you, boss. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, ibinabalik ko lang po, walang kulang, walang bawas. Here is what belongs to you. Two things. If I was the master, okay, at least 5,099 silver. Kulang ng isa. At least kompleto. Pwedeng ganan eh. But the master was not happy. His master replied, so harsh. I could feel the reprimanding here. You wicked and lazy servant. Wow. Alam niyo yung word na wicked? Today, the meaning changed. Several years ago, I was invited in Oxford from our members who were nurses who migrated to London, invited me to speak in Oxford for their anniversary. I was introduced to one of the British guy, I think one of the pastors or the leaders there, and our members who were so proud and excited, we want you to meet Pastor Butch, our pastor from Singapore, and I can still remember the comment of that British guy, you're from Singapore? Oh, you are wicked. I look at Sister Manjo and said, di ba righteous ako? Sabi ng Bible, righteous. But his face was like, you are wicked, man. The meaning is like, it has changed to being, wow, you're perfect, very good. The wicked here is different. It has nothing to do with that expression in London, you wicked man. You wicked, as in really wicked, you're bad, you're evil, you lazy servant, tamad, insolent. So you knew. Look at the argument of the master. Picking up from what he said, the excuse and the justification, he called the bluff. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered? And look what he said. Well then, if that's your perception of me, that I am a hard man, you should have put my money on deposit. There is a disagreement or there's a disconnect. It's not congruent what you are perceiving about me and how you behave. Well, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest. So the master is actually saying, you're fooling me by saying I am a hard man if that's your perception of me, dapat ang action mo, the more nga iningatan mo, ininvest mo, dahil alam mong hahanapan kita eh. So he called the bluff of this guy, saying, no, you are making excuses. Because your belief will determine your behavior. Your belief somehow is translated in the way you behave. That's why I agree with the Bible scholar who said, this guy did not really believe that his master is coming back. Because if you believe that Jesus Christ is coming back, you won't be lazy because he can come anytime when no one knows the time. He can come, and you are not supposed to be you're not just only watchful and preparation. You have to make yourself useful because he can come anytime. But this slave, no, baka mamatay na yan, hindi na babalikan. There was a long delay, hindi na babalikan. That's why he was called wicked. Because there was no faith, there was no trust, there was no confidence in his master. If that's your belief, you should have done this. Remember, the audience of Jesus were the 12 disciples. It is not enough that you watch because you don't know when the time and the hour will come. It is for you to prepare the oil, preparation for what is unexpected. There must be a delay, there will be a delay. You must be ready because the Word of God says, if the Lord will not shorten the days, even the very chosen one will be deceived. That's why sabi niya, I pray that you will prepare yourself for the unexpected. It's not only enough to watch and prepare, you make yourself useful while you are waiting for the return of your master. Put to work. You have been endowed with so much things. You know, in the context of Matthew 25, who was the slave who buried the blessing? In the context of Matthew 25, Jesus was talking about the scribes and the Pharisees who were entrusted with the revelation of God, who were entrusted with the Torah, with the law of Moses. They were entrusted with revelations. All the promises were given to Israel. But they're supposed to be the light of the world, to shine so that the neighboring Gentile nations would see the light and they will be attracted and discover the Messiah or Jesus or God of Israel, Yahweh. That was the role of Israel. Be the light so that the nations of the world will see there is a light, that there is a God in Israel, and all of them will be attracted to Israel and they will come to know Yahweh. But Israel failed to be the light. That's why Jesus repeatedly saying, you cannot hide yourself. You are a city on a hill. How can you hide? You do not light a lamp and you hide it under your bed. You are the salt of the earth. He was talking to Israel. You're supposed to be the influence to the world. But look at you, Israel. You lost your saltiness. So if you lose your saltiness, people will just trample you down. God has entrusted so much to Israel, the scribes and the Pharisees, but they were the ones being referred here in the context of Matthew 25 who buried it. And Jesus reminding his disciples, I am living. Don't be like them. Put to use what I have given you. Look at the next verse. Jesus said, the master, because he was angry and called the bluff of the servant, he said, take the talent from him. Take the 6,000 denarii from this guy and give it to the one who was the 10 talents. That's why I said the faithful will gain more favor, while the faithless will lose even more. Even the last thing that you have will be taken from you. You know what Jesus Christ was actually trying to say in the next verse. We return to the first verse that we have read. This is where he said the punchline. Everyone, for everyone, because everyone who will be given, who has, will be given more, and he will have an abundance. The more favor will he gain. Whoever does not have even what he has will be taken from him. For everyone who has what? Who has faith, believing that his master is coming back. Because I believe that you are coming back, I will not only watch and prepare, I will put myself into usefulness, fruitfulness, and I will serve you, Lord. I will not be sitting around as if you are not coming back. A faithful person is a person that is useful, fruitful. For everyone who has will be given more. In other words, that's the phrase, use it or lose it. God has given you muscles. The more you carry the weights, the more your bicep and your tricep is developed, because the more you use it, the more you'll have it. Stop using it and you lose it. Try to lie down in bed without doing it in the next 10 years. You lose everything. Then he said these words, throw that worthless servant. Wow. He's not just wicked and lazy. Now the master is saying, you're not just wicked and lazy, you're worthless. Throw this worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jesus is saying about judgment here. Kumusta tayo mga kapatid? How are we? Do we still believe that Jesus is coming again? Or we're like the servant, oh no, there has been a long delay. Sinabi niya na yan, thousands of years ago. Wala naman eh. Because your belief will somehow translate in the way, hindi naman pala siya dadating eh. So I can be free and easy ka ngayon. You can do all these things without slowly drifting away from the calling of God in your life. Just like the servant. And then all of a sudden, the surprise will happen because no one knows the time and the hour where the king will show up and there will be a day of reckoning. Diba? Because if you believe the lie of the enemy, hindi dadating si Lord. Meaning you're free to do whatever you want. Wala naman pala yan, hindi naman pala totoo. Because your perception of God or belief of God will somehow affect us. That's why the faithful, those who believed, at the end of the day will gain more favor. We have been royally endowed with spiritual gifts, natural abilities, and manifold resources. Mga kapatid, ang ilan sa atin pinagkatiwalaan ng yaman, ganda, lakas, talino. Iba't iba ang ibinigay ng Diyos sa atin. Pamilya, anak, kapatid, asawa. Each of us according to our own abilities. Kalakip niyan ay ang responsibilidad because God is expecting that we make ourselves useful for His glory. Don't go back home and dig a hole and bury your talents or your endowment. It is supposed to be used for His glory. How have we been, or have we been good managers of what God has entrusted to us? Kumusta tayo from the time we were born and you discover that you're talented with your extraordinary gift compared to other people? What have we done? Have we been good managers? Or have we been lazy and wicked and eventually will be declared worthless because we're not worthy of the call and the kingdom? King Jesus, yes, there was a delay, but He's coming back soon and He will settle accounts with all of us. Have we been abusing our health? Have we been abusing people? Have we been using our gifts and endowment just for our own satisfaction and we are selfish and we're not building others up? We're not even using it for God's glory. Mga kapatid, alam natin kung ibinabaon natin ang ibinigay ng Diyos sa atin. He's coming back. Now, are we ready and excited to give an account, to give a report? Are we like the first two who were excited? Master, welcome back. You have entrusted me with 5. Look, I have gained 5 more. Wow. Good job. Well done. Here, the second one, Lord, I'm happy to see you. Thank you for entrusting me with 2 talents. Behold, I gained 2 more. Or are we the third one, shaking and trembling, coming up with stories in our minds and excuses? Because actually, the bottom line, we did not believe that He is coming back. You were trying to hide it because if He did not return, it's all yours. What will it be, mga kapatid? What will it be when we face Jesus? Will it be well done or you're done? What will it be when we face the judgment seat of Jesus? Will we hear the words, well done? Or will we hear the words, you're done? When we hear the words, you're done, the next word is, be gone from my presence because I don't know you. Oh, wow. What will it be? Let's pray to the Lord, starting today, to make ourselves useful for His kingdom. Or we will hear the words, "You wicked, lazy, and worthless." How disappointing from the Master. Pinagkatiwalaan kita ng buhay. How many years? 40 years, 50 years, 60 years of good health. Everything. Some of us will reach 80, 90, even 100. God has bestowed upon us His endowment. Put to use. We don't know the time and the hour. Here's your takeaway. Here's the bottom line. The faithful, those who believe, because I believe that He's coming back, I am not only watchful for the signs, I will be preparing for the unexpected, but I will make myself useful while I'm waiting. I will serve. While I'm waiting, I will worship. While I'm waiting, I will be productive, because I know there will be a day of reckoning of the things that He has entrusted to me. The faithful will gain more favor, while the faithless will lose even more. So what do we need to do as we close? Is that we believe and be productive. I can hear the disciples saying, in their hearts and in their minds, Jesus is saying, after several days, you will see me being crucified. I will ascend to my Father. I will leave you. But don't worry, I have entrusted you with the Holy Spirit, with the gospel, the message of the gospel. Go into all the world and make disciples of all nations. I have equipped you. I have put resources on you. I have invested you so much. I have placed you in your career strategically. Use it for my glory. Don't bury it. There will be a day of reckoning. Let us not enjoy everything that we receive for our own benefit. There is a higher reason why we have what we have. And it's not how much we have, but how faithful we are in the manifold resources that God has bestowed upon us.
I'm waiting on you, Lord, and I'm hopeful. I'm waiting on you, Lord, though it is painful. But patiently I will wait. And I will move ahead, bold and confident, taking every step in obedience while I'm waiting. I will serve you while I'm waiting. I will worship while I'm waiting. I will not faint. I'll be running the race, even while I wait. I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you, Lord, and I'm peaceful. I'm waiting on you, Lord, though it's not easy, no, but faithfully I will wait. And I will move ahead, bold and confident, taking every step in obedience while I'm waiting. taking every step in obedience, and I will move ahead, bold and confident, taking every step in obedience. While I'm waiting, I will serve you. While I'm waiting, I will worship. While I'm waiting, I will not faint. I'll be running the race, even while I wait. I will serve you.